In February 2025, the world's third largest crypto exchange, Bybit, lost $1.5 billion in a single hack. The entire theft took minutes. The attackers were traced within days to North Korea's Lazarus Group. So what happened next? The money was gone. Most of it still is. And North Korea just had its single most profitable year of crypto theft ever. We keep being told the system is getting better, that enforcement is improving, that regulators are finally catching up. Today I'm going to show you the data that says otherwise. And I'm going to show you exactly where the gaps are, who is falling into them, and what nobody in Washington is willing to say out loud. Every generation of financial history has at least one moment where the public, the press, when the policymakers all looked at a rapidly expanding market and said the same thing. This time it's different. It never is. In the 1990s, the dot-com boom created a speculative frenzy so extreme that companies with no revenue, no product, and sometimes no office became worth billions of dollars, purely on narrative. By 2001, over $5 trillion in market cap had evaporated. In 2008, mortgage-backed securities, instruments so complex that the people selling them barely understood them, nearly collapsed the entire global financial system. The failure wasn't just in the markets, it was in the regulatory architecture. The SEC, the Fed, the OCC, they all had access to the data. The system just wasn't designed to act on it fast enough. Fast forward to crypto. The parallels are not subtle. 2017, ICO mania. Hundreds of projects raised billions on white papers that were later revealed to be either vaporware or outright fraud. The SEC eventually brought cases. Years later, after retail investors had already lost everything. 2022, the FTX collapse. $11 billion in customer funds misappropriated. Sam Bankman-Fried operated for years in plain sight, hosting senators at conferences, donating to political campaigns, photographed with regulators, while allegedly running what prosecutors called one of the largest frauds in American history. Here's what should disturb you. FTX was not a shadowy offshore operation. It had offices in the Bahamas, yes, but it had lobbying presence in Washington. It had institutional investors. It had celebrity endorsements. It had mainstream credibility. And still, nobody stopped it in time. And so what's different in 2026? Honestly, the fraud is more sophisticated. The tools are more powerful. And the regulatory gap, the distance between how fast the criminals move and how fast the institutions respond, has never been wider. In 2025, global anti-money laundering fines and penalties actually dropped 18%, even as illicit flows hit all-time highs. According to Kroll's 2026 analysis, crypto-linked laundered funds reached $158 billion worldwide in 2025. That is more than triple the 2024 total. Let that sink in. Crime up, enforcement down. The gap is widening, not closing. The structural problem is this: regulators operate within jurisdictions. Crypto doesn't. The SEC can bring a case against a fraud operating in New York. It cannot compel cooperation from a scam compound in Myanmar. It cannot freeze a wallet that hops across 17 blockchains in 48 hours. And it certainly cannot act fast enough when the entire infrastructure of a scam, from victim recruitment to money laundering, can be spun up and dismantled in weeks using AI tooling anyone can rent online. This isn't a story about a few bad actors. This is a story about a system that was designed for a different era and hasn't been rebuilt for this one. If you have not heard the term pig butchering yet, you need to. because it represents the single most devastating category of crypto fraud operating right now. The name comes from the Chinese phrase 杀猪盘, literally slaughter the pig. The metaphor is intentional and it is brutal. Scammers spend weeks, sometimes months, cultivating a victim, building trust, building affection, building what feels like a genuine relationship before they slaughter them financially. Here's how it works, step by step. Step 1. Contact. A stranger reaches out on social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, a dating app, or even just a text message sent to a wrong number. They are attractive, they are articulate, they are interested in you. In 2025, many of these strangers are not even human. They are AI-generated personas with deepfake profile photos and scripted conversation flows. Step 2. The relationship. Over days and weeks, the scammer builds genuine rapport. They ask about your life. They share theirs. They might flirt. They almost always mention, casually, that they've been making incredible returns investing in crypto. My cousin taught me the strategy, they say. I don't usually share it, but I like you. Step 3. The introduction. They guide the victim to a fake trading platform, professionally designed, with live price feeds, fake testimonials, fake customer support. The victim deposits a small amount, it grows. They withdraw a small amount, it works. Their confidence builds. Step 4. The slaughter. The victim is encouraged to invest everything they can. Some take out home equity loans. Some drain retirement accounts. When they try to withdraw, suddenly there are tax holds or verification fees required. They pay those too. Eventually, the platform disappears. The scammer disappears. Everything is gone. According to TRM Labs' 2026 Crypto Crime Report, pig butchering scams account for 62% of all fraud inflows in 2025. 62%. And this is not a fringe scheme. It is the dominant form of crypto fraud on Earth right now. Chainalysis data shows the average scam payment jumped from $782 in 2024 to $2,764 in 2025, a 253% increase year over year. Victims are not just losing more often, they are losing far more per incident. And here's the layer that makes this geopolitically catastrophic. Many of these scam operations are not run by individual criminals. They are run by organized crime syndicates operating out of forced labor compounds in Southeast Asia, specifically in Myanmar, Cambodia, Laos, and the Philippines. Chainalysis confirmed in their 2026 report strong connections between these operations and East and Southeast Asian crime networks, in where trafficking victims, people who were themselves deceived with fake job offers, are forced at gunpoint to operate these scams. They are the ones typing your messages. They did not choose this. Many are trying to escape. The United Nations has documented tens of thousands of trafficking victims in these compounds, and the money they generate flows directly back to the criminal networks running them. Networks that span multiple countries, multiple jurisdictions, and have no meaningful fear of Western law enforcement. So where does AI come in? Impersonation scams, a close cousin of pig butchering, saw 1,400% year-over-year growth in 2025, 1,400%. The explosion is driven almost entirely by AI tooling. Deepfake fraud cost Americans $547 million in the first half of 2025 alone. Full-year deepfake-related losses surpassed $1 billion. Scammers are using AI to clone the voices of real celebrities. Elon Musk, Warren Buffett, even local financial advisors, and run fake investment live streams that direct victims to fraudulent platforms. YouTube and Meta have invested in detection. Scammers move to new accounts within hours of being banned. The platforms are playing whack-a-mole with an opponent that never sleeps and never runs out of accounts. As of this week, and I mean literally this week, the FBI announced the arrest of 276 people in a coordinated global takedown of crypto scam centers. The FBI notified almost 9,000 victims and estimates they saved $562 million in potential losses. That sounds like a win, and it is. It is real progress and credit where it's due. But $562 million saved against $17 billion lost in a single year. That's a 3.3% recovery rate. On a good day, pig butchering is personal. The scammer knows your name. They've read your bio. They've built a profile on you. But there's an entire other category of crypto fraud that doesn't need to know anything about you. It just needs to show you a number, a yield, a return, an APY that's higher than anything a legitimate investment could offer. And it works every single time. High-yield investment programs in crypto, or HYIPs, have existed since the earliest days of Bitcoin. The structure is simple. Promise extraordinary returns. Use new investor deposits to pay early investors. Collapse when inflows slow. Disappear with the remaining funds. That's a Ponzi scheme. It has always been a Ponzi scheme. And in 2025, it was still the second largest category of crypto fraud by volume. Here's what's changed: the sophistication of the presentation. Early HYIPs looked like pyramid schemes because they were pyramid schemes. Badly designed websites, vague white papers, promises so outrageous they should have triggered immediate skepticism. Today's fraudulent yield platforms look like legitimate DeFi protocols. They have audits, fake ones, from fake audit firms, or real ones that don't cover the actual risk vectors. They have active communities on Discord and X. They have listed tokens. They have influencer partnerships, some of whom are paid in unlocked tokens to promote the platform before the rug pull happens. In April 2026, the SEC charged crypto executive Donald Basile with a $16 million fraud tied to a fake insured Bitcoin token called Bitcoin Latinum. The pitch was simple. The token was backed by insurance. The insurance was fabricated. This is not a new scam type. This is a version of the same fraud that has been run in traditional finance for over a century. The manufactured security. The only thing that changed is the wrapper. They put it on a blockchain and called it a token, and suddenly a large portion of retail investors stopped applying the critical thinking they would have applied to any other financial product. Why? Because blockchain creates a psychological veneer of legitimacy. When people see a wallet, a smart contract, a transaction hash, it feels real. It feels verified. It feels technical in a way that implies expertise. Scammers have weaponized that cognitive bias at industrial scale. Let's talk about the platform exit scam specifically, because this is where regulatory failure is most stark. A fraudulent exchange or yield platform operates legally in a jurisdiction with minimal crypto oversight. It onboards users, it processes deposits, it generates real trading activity to establish apparent legitimacy. Then, at a moment of the operator's choosing, it executes what the Henry Jackson Society's 2026 report calls an exit strategy. Operators drain user funds and disappear. The California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation's Crypto Scam Tracker has documented dozens of these cases in just the past 12 months. The median victim loss in the tens of thousands of dollars. The platform dissolved. The operators jurisdictionally unreachable. Here's the regulatory reality that nobody wants to say plainly. There is no global crypto regulator. There is no international body with enforcement teeth that can compel action across the jurisdictions where most of these platforms are incorporated. The Financial Action Task Force, the FATF, sets global AML standards, but it cannot prosecute anyone. It can only recommend. Countries can ignore these recommendations. Many do. The United States has the SEC and the CFTC, and for most of 2025, those agencies were engaged in a turf war about who actually has jurisdiction over which digital assets. In March 2026, the SEC issued an interpretive release finally clarifying how securities law applies to certain crypto assets, nearly a decade after Bitcoin became mainstream. A decade pause. In that decade, trillions of dollars moved through crypto markets with varying degrees of oversight, and criminals quite rationally found every single gap. The stablecoin angle is particularly alarming. According to Kroll's analysis, illicit actors in 2025 increasingly moved away from Bitcoin and Ethereum for money laundering and towards stablecoins. Why? Faster settlement, lower volatility, and crucially, the ability to operate in USD-denominated value without touching the actual US banking system. Venezuela's state oil company, PDVSA, used USDT, Tether, to settle crude oil transactions with Chinese buyers, routing hundreds of millions through crypto rails to evade US sanctions. This is documented, this is confirmed. This happened while the US Treasury was aware of it. Crypto-linked illicit flows hit $158 billion globally in 2025. Enforcement fines globally dropped 18% that same year. I want you to sit with that juxtaposition for a moment. Crime is up, enforcement is down, and the tools criminals are using are getting better, faster than the tools regulators are deploying. I want to be careful here because I don't think regulators are incompetent. I don't think enforcement agencies are corrupt. I think the problem is structural, and structural problems are harder to fix than individual failures because you can't just fire your way to a solution. Problem 1. Regulatory jurisdiction is geographic. Crypto is not. The SEC can regulate a securities offering made to US investors by a US company. But what happens when a fraudulent platform is incorporated in Seychelles, operated by servers in Eastern Europe, marketed to Americans through social media platforms with no geographic restrictions, and pays out through a DeFi protocol with no central operator? The answer right now is not much. Cross-border enforcement requires mutual legal assistance treaties, MLATs, and treaty-based cooperation between sovereign governments. That process takes months, sometimes years. The fraudulent platform was built in a week. It's already been shut down and rebuilt somewhere else before the first diplomatic request is processed. Problem 2, regulatory speed versus technology speed. In traditional finance, a new financial product goes through months or years of regulatory review before it's offered to the public. In crypto, a new scam mechanism, a new smart contract structure, a new social engineering playbook, a new AI-enabled impersonation toolkit can be deployed in days. Chainalysis noted in their 2026 report that scam operations have become increasingly industrialized, with professional infrastructure including phishing-as-a-service platforms, AI-generated deepfakes, and professional money laundering networks that rivals the operational sophistication of legitimate fintech companies. Phishing-as-a-Service. That is a real product category now. You can rent the tools to run a crypto impersonation scam the same way you can rent a Shopify store. There is a dashboard, there is customer support, there is a pricing tier. Regulators are writing rules for the 2018 version of this problem. The criminals are running the 2026 version. Problem 3. Political pressure creates enforcement asymmetry. Here's something the mainstream financial press covers very carefully around: the relationship between the crypto industry and the political apparatus that is supposed to regulate it. In the 2024 election cycle, crypto-affiliated PACs spent hundreds of millions of dollars on political campaigns across both parties. The result in 2025 was a measurably more permissive regulatory environment in the U.S. The SEC's enforcement activity declined. Cases that had been built over years were settled or dropped. Again, I'm not making an argument about whether specific regulations are right or wrong. I am making an empirical observation. When the regulated industry funds the campaigns of the people who appoint the regulators, enforcement tends to decline. This is not a new dynamic. And this is the same dynamic that allowed the mortgage industry to fight off oversight in the early 2000s. We know how that ended. Problem 4. Victim profile doesn't match the assumed narrative. There's a pervasive assumption in both regulatory culture and public discourse that crypto fraud victims are unsophisticated investors who should have known better. Retirees clicking phishing emails, people who don't understand technology falling for obvious scams. The data does not support this. The FBI's 2025 data shows an average individual loss of $62,000. People losing $62,000 to a single scam are not, as a rule, people who are not paying attention. They are often highly educated, financially literate individuals who were targeted precisely because they had assets to lose and the digital fluency to engage with crypto platforms. Pig butchering scam operators specifically target LinkedIn because the people on LinkedIn have professional credibility, investment experience, and capital. These are not naive marks. These are smart people being deceived by sophisticated, AI-assisted, psychologically expert operations. And when those smart people go to report their loss to the FBI, to their state regulator, to the SEC, the response is often a form letter, because the agency doesn't have jurisdiction, because the funds are gone, because the investigation would require cooperation from a government that doesn't want to cooperate. The institutional failure here is not just financial, it is a failure of civic protection. These are citizens, taxpayers, who have been robbed, and the system that is supposed to protect them cannot help them. Problem 5. North Korea. I want to spend a moment on this specifically because it gets underreported. In February 2025, the Lazarus Group, North Korea's state-sponsored cybercrime unit, executed the largest single crypto hack in history, stealing $1.5 billion from Bybit by exploiting a vulnerability in a third-party wallet interface. The theft was attributed to North Korea within days. The funds were rapidly moved through mixers and cross-chain bridges. According to Chainalysis, North Korea stole more than $2 billion in crypto in 2025 alone, its most successful year ever. In April 2026, DPRK link theft topped another $578 million following the Kelp DAO exploit. These funds reportedly fund North Korea's weapons program. This is not speculation. It has been confirmed by UN sanctions committees, the U.S. Treasury, and in multiple private blockchain intelligence firms. The Bybit hack revealed a brutal truth that the blockchain forensics community has been wrestling with. Attribution is not the same as recovery. We can trace the funds. We can name the perpetrators. We cannot get the money back. We cannot arrest a state actor operating from Pyongyang. And in the meantime, another exchange is somewhere building its security architecture on the same assumptions Bybit made. that their third-party interfaces were trustworthy, that their internal approval processes were robust, that they were ready for the level of adversarial sophistication that a nation-state intelligence apparatus can deploy. They are not ready. Most of them are not ready. So let's bring this home. What do 30 years of financial fraud history, FTX, pig butchering compounds in Myanmar, a $1.5 billion North Korean hack, $158 billion in laundered funds, and a 1,400% spike in AI impersonation scams all have in common? The answer is simpler than you might expect. First, information asymmetry always favors the fraudster. Scammers know exactly what they're doing and exactly who they're targeting. Victims, by definition, do not have that information. Regulators are always reconstructing the crime after the fact. The asymmetry is structural, and the only way to close it is through better real-time surveillance, faster enforcement mechanisms, and international cooperation frameworks that actually have teeth. We have none of those things at scale. Second, complexity is a weapon. Every major fraud in financial history hides behind complexity. Mortgage-backed securities were complex. FTX's balance sheet was complex. A DeFi yield protocol with 17 tokens, 3 liquidity pools, and an unlocked team allocation is complex. Complexity creates plausible deniability. It creates the cognitive load that makes due diligence feel impossible. It creates the space for "I didn't know" from both victims and sometimes from regulators. The antidote is not becoming a blockchain engineer. The antidote is a simple rule, as old as finance itself. If you cannot explain in 2 sentences how the return is generated, do not invest. That rule stops most crypto frauds cold. Third, urgency is a weapon. Every pig butchering scam, every fake yield platform, every impersonation scam uses artificial urgency. This window is closing. I'm only sharing this with a few people. The withdrawal window opens tomorrow. Urgency is manufactured to bypass your deliberate thinking and activate emotional decision-making. Any legitimate investment opportunity will exist tomorrow. Any legitimate investment opportunity will survive the 24 hours you need to independently verify it. If the opportunity disappears when you ask for time to think, that is your answer. Fourth, the enforcement gap is real, and it matters to you personally. In 2025, global AML enforcement fines fell 18%, while illicit flows tripled. That gap will not close itself. It requires political will, from voters, from legislators, from institutional pressure, to demand that regulatory bodies be funded, staffed, and empowered for the actual threat environment they face in 2026, not the one that existed in 2018. International frameworks like MiCA in Europe are a start, but they cover a fraction of the global crypto market. The US is still operating without comprehensive federal crypto legislation. The jurisdictional patchwork means that every gap in domestic law is an invitation for fraud to operate from just beyond the reach of enforcement. That will not change until it becomes politically costly to leave those gaps open. Right now, it isn't. And finally, what hasn't changed is human psychology. The EZ-Pass phishing campaign that Chainalysis highlighted in their 2026 report, where scammers posed as government agencies to steal crypto, worked for the same reason the Nigerian prince email worked in 1998. It exploited authority. It created urgency. It asked for action before the target had time to think. And the clothes are different. The technology is different. The scale is different. But the playbook is the same one that ran the tulip mania, the Mississippi bubble, the dot-com fraud, and the subprime mortgage crisis. We keep expecting this to be the last time. It never is. The fraudsters know that. The question is whether the institutions designed to protect us will figure it out before the next $17 billion disappears. Here's what I want you to take away from today. Not paranoia, awareness. Not avoidance of crypto, informed engagement. And not cynicism about regulation. Informed pressure on the people and institutions responsible for closing the gaps. The tools exist to fight this. The blockchain is transparent. Every transaction is traceable. AI can be used for fraud detection just as readily as it's used for fraud commission. An international cooperation frameworks can be built when there's political will to build them. But none of that happens automatically. And none of it happens fast enough if we keep treating each new fraud wave as a surprise. This was not a surprise. The data was always there. If this video gave you a clearer picture of where the system is actually failing, share it, because the best protection against fraud is an informed public. And right now, that public is us. Drop in the comments. What aspect of crypto regulation do you think is most broken? I read every single one. If you want to go deeper on any of these topics, the pig butchering networks, the blockchain forensics behind Bybit, the DeFi rug pull mechanics, I'll link a playlist below. I'll see you in the next one.